Okay, I'm going to do number 11 and 12 in the chapter 1.7 homework. I said you could do this by hand, so I'm going to do this by hand so you have a quote-unquote answer solution. Now the problem is everybody's numbers may be slightly different than mine, but they should be very similar and the process would be the same. So we have two functions here. When x is less than 0, we're going to be doing the negative absolute value of x. And when it's negative 3 squared of x, that's going to be x is greater than or equal to 0. So now the first part here, negative x is less than 0, the absolute value. Remember, the absolute value graph is normally just the v-looking one. And since it's a negative outside, that means I'm going to flip it over the x-axis. So, and I only want less than 0, so I only want to do this, so I want to flip that. So now it's less than 0, so 0, 0, I'm going to put an open circle. And then really it's just the negative x line, which is just going down this way, goes out there. Now the square root of x, if we remember, if we look at this graph, it kind of looks like that. Okay. So now, since the negative again is on the outside, we're going to flip it over the x-axis again, but the negative 3 is just going to make it wider down that way. So I'm going to pick some points here. The first point I'm going to pick, we'll do 0. That is the vertex. Anything times 0, 0, so the vertex is 0, 0. Now it's interesting here, we put an open circle on 0, 0 already, but now we do have to fill it in because it is part of the other graph. Now if I pick x equals 1, I get square root of 1 is 1, 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Oh, and then let's pick 4. The square root of 4 is 2, negative 3 times 2 is 6. Or negative 6, sorry. I said it wrong, but wrote it right. So let's plot those points. 0, 0, then 1, negative 3, then 4, and then negative 6. So you can see it's just a fatter version of that. Okay, and so there's the first question. Now, if we remember, if we had put, I'm just going to do this in green, if it was the square root of negative x like this, since it's inside, the original graph is this, then it's inside, then we flip it over the y-axis and it would look something like that. And that's a good review of our old, symmetrical flips. So let's go to the other question, number 12. This is a three-part piecewise function. The first part is pretty easy. It's negative 4, so that's just a horizontal line at negative 4 between negative 3 and negative 1. But notice both are less than, so we have to have two open circles. So here's negative 3, there's negative 4. And then I go down to negative 1. That's another open circle, so I just draw my line connecting them. From negative 3 to negative 1. Then at negative 1 to 1, I have less than or equal to, so that's a solid dot. Now, negative 1, that's just a solid dot right there. And remember, this is just y equals x, so that's just a vertical line. So 0, 0, but then at 1, it's that, so I got to put an open circle on 1. Now, this next part here is, for x is greater than 1, we have negative x squared plus 1. Now, if I were to look at the original graph here for a parabola, it goes like this. But the negative's out front, so it's going to flip it. But then it's going to plus 1, so I'm going to rise it 1. So in the end, we're going to have something that looks like that. Now, we must start at x is greater than or equal to 1, though. So let's just do a mini chart here, because we're going to start at 1. Now, when I put in 1, 1 squared is 1, negative 1 plus 1 is 0. I put in 2. 2 squared is 4, negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. Now remember, the vertex is really 0, 1 in here. So, but I don't want to draw it there because x has to be greater than 1. So I'm going to go 1, 0 is my first point. Then 2, 1, 2, 3 is my second point. So now we're kind of imagine here, and then we're kind of drawing a little line that goes like that. Okay. And then I did forget to connect this dot, and now I have my graph. Now I should have done it all in red, so let me just pop this over red. But in the end, that's the three-part function. This is an upside down parabola, this is a line with slope 1, and this is slope 0. I hope this helps.